What are the critical questions you need to ask your lender when you get pre-qualified? I'd like to suggest that you have a conversation about some very important topics. This is meant to help you understand and feel comfortable about the pre-qualification process and put you in the best situation to get your offer accepted. So let's get started. First off, did the lender review which loan program would be the best for you, or did they just say, congratulations, you're pre-qualified for a house up to so many hundreds of thousands of dollars? You really need to understand why they are recommending a certain type of loan. Remember, each loan program has many variables such as the down payment requirements, waiting periods for bankruptcy or short sales, credit score requirements, self-employment versus W-2 considerations, and what you really want to know is how these variables affect the interest rate for the loan. Interest rates can be very loan dependent. Have the lender explain why they chose one program over another and the pros and the cons. A good lender or loan officer has a wealth of information that they'll be glad to share with you. Don't be afraid to ask. Next, specify what type of property you're interested in, at least until you change your mind. Your interest rate can be different if it's a single family home versus a townhouse or a condo. And you need to watch my video on the difference between a townhouse and a condo. You'll be surprised. It's not as clear-cut as you think. Also, some condo and townhouse communities don't qualify for an FHA loan. That would be a good thing to know before you go out and fall in love with a property that you can't buy. Believe me, that has happened. And condos and townhouses typically have higher HOA fees, so that will affect your pre-qualification. Be upfront with the lender so they can properly pre-qualify you for the type of property that you're looking for and avoid confusion later on. Now, if you're finding value and don't mind doing me a favor, check the like and subscribe buttons and don't forget the notification bell while you're at it. Now, will the lender be willing to use the Arizona Association of Realtors pre-qualification form and not a templated form with their letterhead? Now, this is important because the AAR form gives a better reflection of the buyer's ability to get financing. For example, it's important to disclose if the offer is contingent on the sale or lease of another property. And does the buyer need seller concessions, or how about down payment assistance? If these things are not disclosed and come out later on when there's a problem, there will be a lot of angry people. When I'm acting as a listing agent, I feel this form gives a more thorough representation of the buyer's ability, and I have more confidence with this versus what typically looks like a templated generic pre-qualification form. As a buyer's agent, I also want the lender to use the AAR form. Why? Well, I feel it gives the buyer's offer a better chance of being accepted. Also in the contract, line 69, it states that the AAR form is being submitted with the offer. And on the 10th day after the contract acceptance, the lender will supply a loan status update, LSU, on a similar form. If the lender is fighting about using the pre-qualification form, what are the chances that they'll fill out the loan status update when it's due? And whenever a loan status update is requested. The good lenders will send an update, a loan status update every week to keep everyone on the same page regarding the loan progress. Now, there's a question to ask. Will you supply an update every week? Next, you need to ask about closing costs. It is not good enough to get a ballpark percentage. Closing costs come from different sources and will depend on the specific property. So even with a line-by-line breakdown, using estimates will be necessary until you have an accepted contract in hand. But it can be done. With that being said, I have a video that goes into detail about the closing cost fees and where they come from. And I do offer up a range, but a lender should be able to give you a more detailed breakdown because they control some of those expenses. Keep asking for that detailed line item loan summary with closing costs, especially when you go under contract. Now, avoid a pre-qualification based on a verbal discussion. The buyer has some responsibility, well, a lot of responsibility on this one to get the necessary documents to the lender so their pre-qualification can be as accurate as possible. Don't procrastinate. Get the documentation to the lender so there are no hidden surprises. That's the last thing you want after the house is in escrow. Pre-qualifications based on a verbal discussion are risky. I would be suspicious of a lender who gives a pre-qualification after a short discussion and then wants want you to go charge ahead submitting an offer based solely on a conversation. This is why the AAR form is important, because it shows the depth of the pre-qualification. Next, ask the lender, what is my debt-to-income ratio? They'll probably be surprised and impressed with this question. This will give you an idea of whether you'll be house poor eating top ramen every night, which isn't very healthy, or have enough in the budget to go out to dinner twice a month. You see, this ratio takes into account your new monthly house payment along with the other debt obligations and compares it to your income. So naturally, the higher the debt-to-income ratio, the tighter your budget is going to be. Have your lender explain this to you. It will also give you some insight into how a lender calculates how much house you can afford. Lastly, and probably most important, ask, what will my monthly payment be, including taxes, PMI, insurance, principal and interest, and the HOA. Until you have a specific property under contract, you won't know the exact number, but request an estimate based on the homes you're interested in. Remember, the price of the house is important, but at the end of the day, what you really want to know is, what is my monthly payment? Your budget will thank you, and it will guide you in what price range of homes you need to be looking at. If you can have a discussion with your lender that includes these topics, you'll be well on your way to being pre-qualified and being confident in taking the next step. Now, if you have any comments on these topics I've covered, please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you.